I'm going to briefly get into gender roles in labor. I'm also going to relate it to my personal experiences and recent experiences. And I'm going to interpret certain things that have happened to me recently and kind of the thought process I want to have looking forward and how it ties politically to the feminism dogma and how it's very tied to trauma. And these so-called feminists, they not only does it come from ego, but it comes from their past experiences, and they believe in some sort of twisted way the solution to that is to become like a man. And they're essentially like role playing as a man, and then, I mean, irregardless to the future outcome, at whatever point in life they are, they're role playing as they're pretending, and there's a societal support of that ideology, but essentially they're just role playing or pretending to be a man because they know deep down the patriarchy or these cultural norms, traditional norms, historical norms, they're there. They are there for a reason, and they just, in their revolutionary spirit, they believe that the solution to these past traumatic things or past issues is to twist what they believe is true and the patriarchy and men's oppression. So their interpretation of men's oppression. So they're not only inverting just general customs of their society, but they're inverting Christian teaching and what God imposed natural law. Men and women have complementary roles, but not identical, and they're not interchangeable. And they're designed. A lot of red pillars say this. It's a yin and yang type of thing. You can't transpose one gender in the other's role. It just ends up being inversion. And lately, I've been finding myself looking back on my experiences with women. I'm just like, I put myself in kind of their perspective. And I get kind of I look back and it was distasteful. It's just I get why they go there. It's you find stubbornness in the opposite gender, and you want them to be more on your program and see the world how you see it. And fundamentally, you can't make anyone do anything, but it still frustrates one. You're around this person, why don't you see what I see, and you get upset. I'm looking at my notes because I was all over the place on forming this quick little rant. But yeah, I believe most feminists come to that. They select that personal belief because they went through some sort of trauma or some sort of negative experience, and they believe they don't. Part of it is they believe they just hold on to that rancor, and rather than letting it go, and that's where I'm kind of at. They hold on to it, and they believe the solution is to like hurt themselves more by becoming a man, which they'll never be. Rich Cooper talks about don't date tattooed women because it's essentially they're displaying their past traumas, and he gets into kind of the facts of what a tattoo is and stuff. And I sort of agree with that. I kind of get that. It's like this, I was hurt, so I'm going to mutilate myself even more. And it's kind of sad. I definitely look back on my personal experience, and I definitely agree with that. There's something really simple and and emo about it, I guess. And uh, give me a second. So, disdain, contempt, pride disguised as empowerment, and at the time it felt justified. Um, Personally, I've my last encounter or relationships with women. They were both like liberal women. Um, they This is where I kind of want to get into different series because I definitely was more leaning on the side of you find a woman, you try to, it's almost like just offer what you got, and if it's in the cards for you, then the woman conforms somewhat and learns to love. I mean, I'm not blue pill, but learns to love you. Um, but now I'm leaning more towards kind of Rich Cooper's, vetting and finding compatibility. And I'm starting to lean more towards that because there's so much feminist women, and it's such a incompatible dogma that it's just destined to be dysfunctional. So, um, yeah, but I was saying disdain, contempt, pride disguises. I mean, I definitely do believe on. I've been talking a lot about the ego, and it's just ego. It's if you boil it down and you dilute all these behaviors, it's ego because um well, part of it is trauma, but it develops into an ego because it's they didn't get their get back at the time with whatever negative experience with the man. So rather than just letting it go, which is in the spirit of Catholicism, Christianity in general, they say I'm just as good, and it's this poisonous cycle that leads to nothing good. Rather than accepting the spirit of Jesus and saying, I don't want to think about this, I don't want to care about this, like, why even get into politics if I was hurt by some jackass or whatever man hurt me or whatever man abandoned me or whatever. So, personally, I'm a, you know, I got personal gripes about the world and stuff, and I could be a victim if I wanted to, but it's like, for what? It's not gonna. I'm at the point in my life where I'm understanding that being self-deprecated and being miserable is not gonna get me anywhere. So that's that's like that dogma is just nonsense. It makes no sense. It's saying the world is a patriarchy, and men got together and said we're gonna subjugate women just for, and that doesn't even make sense. Like, for what would be the motive to do that? It just doesn't add up. But nonetheless, a victim mindset. And then the funny part is they want to compete. They want they want both sides of the equation. They want to compete, but also when it's time to be a victim and say some case of, this just comes to mind, sexual harassment, then they want to be a victim. So it's just this incompatible dogma. Not only is it eroding from the general consensus that it's not it's not a productive way of thinking, but it's just overall. I mean, I see why it sells, but um, it's just become so stale, and people are seeing right through it. I mean, it's saying masculinity demonized, and that's definitely true. Um, Even a lot of so-called like right wingers are you it's few and far between the political figures that are actually red pill on how women are, and even I don't know. I think like Steven Crowder or whoever, they're so well. I believe they want to like add the buts and the well. What if we do this? But we could let. It's like you either have gender roles or you don't. You can't. Oh, we want this, but women get equal rights as well, and that's just not. There's these concessions show actually a scarcity mindset to bring in the red pill because they don't want to like upset their wife or whatever. So the point of this video is to end with this. Just rather than um, commiserating about how terrible women are and um, how we can find flaws in them, we just treat them as is and just let it go. And in the spirit of Catholicism, we could say, that nonsense. I keep some distance between me and that, and I just let it go. There's no point in arguing with it. There's no point in hating, and just you know let it go. So that's kind of a little rant I wanted to get into, and that's been on my mind. So yeah.